4 days passed. The reconnaissance teams departed quietly. No announcements, no ceremonies, no public knowledge. Just ships disappearing into the stars carrying some of Reach's most trusted operatives. Half toward House Rain, half toward House Arcturus. Kenny wanted answers, not assumptions. If war was coming, he wanted eyes on it. If a future alliance was possible, he wanted certainty. For now, however, there was nothing to do but wait. And waiting had never been Kenny's strongest skill. The afternoon sun shone warmly across the mountains overlooking the capital. The academy below bustled with activity. Students trained, ships landed, citizens moved through the streets. Life continued. Kenny sat alone on one of the observation terraces built into the mountainside. For once, there were no advisors, no generals, no meetings, just him and Rissol. The strange lemur-like creature lay sprawled across his lap while Kenny gently scratched behind its ears. The creature purred loudly, a bizarre sound considering it wasn't technically a cat. Rissol stretched happily. Kenny smirked. "You live a hard life," Rissol chirped. The creature rolled over dramatically, demanding more attention. Kenny shook his head, then continued grooming the creature's silver fur. The animal seemed larger lately. Not much, just enough to notice. A strange pulse of light suddenly flickered beneath Rissol's fur. Kenny frowned. What was that? Rissol sat upright. The creature's ears twitched. Another pulse, this time brighter. The AI built into Kenny's communications implant activated instantly. Analyzing, scanning. Biological adaptation detected. Kenny blinked. What? The AI continued. Lifeform identified. Mist runner species. Evolutionary progression detected. Bond synchronization threshold exceeded. Kenny frowned. Explain. The AI complied. Several holographic screens appeared beside him. Analysis suggests species evolves through trust bonding with primary companion. Current emotional bond level exceeds historical database expectations. Probability of adaptive evolution, 98%. Kenny stared. Rissol chirped proudly, as though the creature had been expecting this. The animal's body began glowing softly. Silver fur shimmered. Patterns of blue light appeared beneath its skin. The creature wasn't growing dramatically. It was changing, refining, evolving. Several moments passed. Then suddenly it stopped. The glow faded. Rissol looked up at Kenny. Its eyes now carried faint silver rings around the pupils. A moment later, the creature simply vanished. Kenny immediately stood. What? Then a second later, Rissol reappeared sitting on his shoulder. The AI activated again. New ability detected. Enhanced phasing capability. Short-range teleportation. Spatial adaptation unlocked. Kenny laughed. Of course, Rissol chirped proudly. The creature climbed onto his head, then onto his shoulder, then onto his lap again, showing off. Kenny scratched behind its ears. The animal immediately melted into his chest affectionately. The AI spoke once more. Further evolutions possible. Kenny raised an eyebrow. How many? Unknown. Species database incomplete. The AI paused. Recommendation. Continue bonding process. Kenny laughed. That's the easiest recommendation you've ever made. Rissol purred happily. The moment felt peaceful, normal, rare. Then his communicator chimed. A private priority transmission. Kenny glanced toward the notification. Queen Selena Arcturus. Rissol immediately looked curious. Kenny sighed. Here we go. The transmission opened. Selene appeared instantly. The queen sat in what appeared to be a private garden. Waterfalls flowed behind her. Flowering trees surrounded the courtyard. The woman smiled immediately upon seeing him. Kenny. He nodded. Selene. The queen looked toward Rissol. Oh my stars. Kenny immediately knew where this was going. What? He's adorable, Rissol chirped proudly. The queen laughed. He knows I said that. He absolutely does. The creature puffed its chest out. The queen shook her head. I refuse to believe that's a real animal. Kenny looked toward Rissol. He's becoming more arrogant every day. The queen smiled. The conversation drifted naturally afterward. No politics, no military discussions, no alliance negotiations. Just conversation. How are things? How was the trip home? How is Reach? How is Tyrannus? Simple things, normal things. The sort of conversation two people had when they genuinely wanted to talk. At one point, the queen laughed so hard she nearly spilled her drink. At another, Kenny caught himself smiling more than usual. Neither mentioned it. The call continued. Comfortable? Easy. Eventually the queen looked toward the horizon beyond her gardens. The sun appeared to be setting on Tyrannus. It's strange? Kenny raised an eyebrow. What is? The queen smiled softly. I spent years negotiating with rulers. Another pause. Most conversations feel exhausting. She looked back toward him. This doesn't. Kenny considered that, then nodded. Fair. The queen laughed again. The silence that followed felt comfortable. Not awkward, not forced. Just comfortable. Eventually Kenny broke it. You should visit. The queen blinked. What? Kenny gestured toward the mountains around him. Reach. Another pause. Come spend a night here. The queen looked genuinely surprised, then suspicious, then hopeful, then surprised again. The emotional sequence was almost impressive. You mean that? Kenny nodded. Sure. Another pause. You've seen enough meeting rooms. The queen smiled. A real smile. The kind that reached her eyes. I'd like that. Another pause. Very much. The call ended shortly afterward. Neither seemed particularly eager to disconnect. Yet eventually they did. The hologram vanished. Silence returned. The afternoon slowly became evening. Golden sunlight washed across the mountains. The cities below began glowing with artificial lights. Risol climbed into Kenny's lap once more. The evolved creature curled up comfortably against his chest. Kenny leaned back into the large observation chair overlooking the capital. Thousands of people moved below, living, working, laughing, existing, everything he had fought for, everything he was trying to protect. Risol rested its head against his arm. The creature listened quietly, because somehow it always seemed to listen. Kenny stared out across Reach. You know, Risol chirped softly, I never planned any of this. The creature remained silent. I was supposed to win a planet. Another pause. That was the goal. The city lights stretched endlessly before him. Now there were 4 planets, billions of people, a war, an empire, a queen, house reign, the future. The weight of it all sat heavily on his shoulders. For once, he allowed himself to admit it. I'm tired, mate. Risol pressed closer. The creature made a soft, comforting sound. Kenny laughed quietly. You don't even know what I'm saying. The creature chirped, disagreeing, obviously. Kenny shook his head. The stars slowly appeared above Reach, one by one. The city below continued shining. The future remained uncertain. The war remained unresolved. And somewhere out there, House Rain was planning its next move. But for tonight, Kenny sat quietly beneath the stars, with Risol curled against him, watching over the world they both called home, and for the first time in a long while, that felt like enough.